Hey, Alex, you got us?
Gotcha, Murph.
Sounds great. Is it loud enough?
I can certainly hear you.
All right, Matt Lilly will be up first if we're ready to go. Blue Coats General Manager Matt Lilly.
Folks, quick note to say that this availability throughout will be moderated. So in order to ask the question, I ask that you digitally raise your hand on the control panel, and we'll be calling on you for a little bit of organization here. So if you have a question, once again, please raise your hand digitally, and you'll be called upon to unmute yourself, and we'll go from there. As Murph indicated, Blue Coats General Manager Matt Lilly will be stepping up first here to get us started.
Hello, everybody on? Just
All right, Alex.
Again, please mute yourselves to start and unmute yourselves as I call on you. First question for Matt Lilly will go to Noah Levick. Go ahead, Noah.
Hey, Matt. So last season, you guys had a large team that seemed to mirror the Sixers' philosophy, and now it appears less size, but players that are transition-oriented. Is that an intentional shift to try to match what the Sixers are doing?
I think in part, but I think more than anything, we wanted to go into this season and be a little more versatile in the way we were doing things, and with Doc coming in, obviously there's some new philosophies in our organization defensively. So just having the personnel that can play in multiple ways and execute different schemes. So I think we put a big premium on versatility, and with some of the guys, they're not 7'3", 7'2" like they were last year, but I think they can still anchor a defense in their own way, and I think just give us a little more flexibility on that end.
Next up, we'll go to Mark Narcucci. Mark, go ahead.
Yes, Matt, could you talk about just the challenges of getting all this together and getting ready to play in a bubble and what this has been like?
Yeah, I think first of all, the league's done a phenomenal job. We're now down here we've been down here for 5 days now. This is our second day post quarantine where we've been out and exploring the campus a little bit. So I think just walking around and seeing the infrastructure that the league has put together, it has been pretty impressive. And then on our end, we had a bunch of challenges on the team side of just in a relatively short amount of time having to put the roster together, and even more operationally just figuring out how to get all of our whole setup down here. So there have definitely been some challenges, but I think on the league side and our staff on the Blue Coat side have done a phenomenal job of putting this whole thing together so far.
Thank you.
Jumping over to Jason Blevins. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Matt, good to see you. This is year 3 for you as GM. Where do you feel like your growth as an executive has really gone? I know this past year has been sort of crazy for everyone. Walk me through like your journey over the last few years.
Yeah, I think I've had a variety of roles in this league now. And I think coming from where I started and my background in more entry-level roles, I think the biggest adjustment and the biggest area of growth for me so far has just been managing people, right? Just like you would in any kind of management position in any industry, where I was, for a number of years on the lower end of the hierarchy and being directed by others and handling a bunch of grunt work. And now for me, learning somewhat on the fly of how to lead a group of people on the staff, the players, both. And I think my growth there has kind of been the biggest thing, just figuring out, how to speak to people and how to communicate and leaning on some of the people above me with Elton and others on how to grow in that area. I think it's probably been the biggest thing.
Yeah, great. One quick follow-up. Your assistant last year, data heavy, data science, Ruben, data scientist. This year you got an ex sort of NBA legend point guard. How's that dynamic different? What are you learning from them? How is the sort of working dynamics different?
Yeah, I think with Jameer, still getting to know each other a little bit, and he's been awesome so far. He's super fired up about taking this next step in his post-playing career. I think he brings a pretty unique perspective for me to kind of bounce ideas off of him and given all of his playing experience to get his perspective on everything. So, he's been super helpful for me even in the short time putting this roster together. But at the same time, we're still getting to know each other a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks, Jason.
Next up, we'll hit Jason Joseph. Go ahead, Jason.
Hi there, Matt. I just wanted to ask you, I know that one of the biggest moves this offseason is bringing in Frank Mason III. I just wanted to know what kind of impact he's going to be having on this team and how much are you looking forward to him playing?
Yeah, I think we're pretty fortunate that we ended up, landing Frank, a guy that's the reigning MVP of our league. The guy that I think he's been a pro for 3 years, and all 3 of those years have been as an NBA player until this point. So I think he's proven that he's a premier player in the G League. So I think for us, we're looking forward to having him and getting some of the impact that we've seen him had elsewhere last year with Wisconsin. And then on the flip side, I think for us, we'd like to help him and put him in a position where he can get back to the league.
Next up, we'll hit Harrison Brown Russo. Go ahead, Harrison.
Hey, Matt, how's it going? I was wondering your thoughts on the G League draft this year and your guys' acquisition of Jamario Jones and Braxton Cube, what you think they'll be able to bring to the table.
Yeah, I think the draft was a unique one this year, where it was probably a more talented pool of guys that than we're used to being in the draft. That's for a number of different reasons, just given the nature of what our league looks like this year. So for Jamario, I think we were thrilled to get him where we did. We were pretty surprised that he was still available at that point. Along with Frank was they might have been the 2 best players on Wisconsin last year. Who was one of the best teams in the league. So I think Jamario is a very unique player. 6'5", 6'6", is one of the best rebounders in the league. Super smart, great passer, versatile defensively, unbelievably high motor. And then now that we've gotten to be down here with him in person, we're starting to see just more of the intangibles and some of the other things he brings to the table. So I think we were thrilled to get him. He's going to be a big part of what we do this year. And then getting Braxton as well as a rookie, I think has a really good foundation to kind of grow into with his size and his defensive ability. I think we're excited to see through a more long-term lens what we might be able to turn him into.
Next up, we will hit Kyle Bennett. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Matt, I just wanted to ask you to see, how much brain picking and how much, planning you did with the Sixers front office to prepare for the bubble environment, being that you guys didn't, have a bubble last season, but they did. How much went into, just figuring out the odds and ends of, living in the bubble?
Yeah, I think everything we do, we're in lockstep with the Sixers organization, and in my case, the front office. So with some of the new faces, Daryl, obviously, Peter Dinwiddie, Prosper Karangwa, I talk to those guys regularly, and we try to coordinate everything together as we were planning for the bubble down here. And then with Paul and Rayjon, obviously, there's a ton of coordination and cooperation that goes in with getting those guys integrated down here and what the overall plan for them is. So really everything we do is always in tandem with the Sixers org.
Have time for 2 more. First up, David Melanger Jr. Go ahead, David.
Hey, Coach, got a couple of questions for you. One, have any of the players come to you expressing concerns about playing in the bubble? And secondly, what has it been like to have Jameer Nelson part of the front office?
Yeah, to the first question, no. I think, just like I said earlier, walking around here and seeing the precautions that the league has in place, and with us testing every day, I think our whole group has a lot of confidence in what's been put together here from a protocol standpoint. And I think everyone feels pretty safe here. And then to the Jameer question, he's been awesome. And he's still, he's still learning kind of what it's like on the front office side now that he's beyond his playing career. But for me, he's been super helpful and a really good resource for me.
Last one for Matt. We'll close with Nick Earnshaw. Go ahead, Nick.
Hi, Matt. I was just wondering, it's been a tough year through the pandemic. What has the process been like, with the college basketball season being canceled last year, regarding scouting and bringing players in? Can you talk about some of the challenges that you guys faced going into this season?
Yeah, it's I think specifically with college basketball where it is right now, it's changed scouting dramatically, and even to rewind to this past off season, and the draft obviously got postponed until November, so we had all this extra time. We're trying to figure out what to do with it, and ended up doubling down on a bunch of film studies and doing a ton of Zoom interviews with some of the prospects. So I think we had to adapt in that way. But last year, and then now this college season, it's different. We're not going to nearly as many games as we're used to going to, and it's much more virtual and video based, and we're getting on our Zooms with our staff and catching up with all the guys that we've been studying. But so much more of it is still video based because we're not in college arenas nearly as often as we would be in a normal year. And I think to bring it back to the G League, I think we're all pretty excited about having this opportunity with Team Ignite and all of the other G League teams to get some first person live scouting again. I think we're all kind of fired up to be in an environment like this and get some scouting done here as well.
All right. Thank you, Matt. We'll stand by for head coach Connor Jones. Thanks again, Matt.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, all. I just reset hands. So from now on, hands raised will be directed at Connor Johnson. Again, I reset hands. If you did raise your hand in the close there, I need to reset that hand raise. Thank you.
All right, Alex, we're ready with Coach. He's coming in now.
What's up, guys?
Hi, Coach. First question is going to go to Dave McCallum. Go ahead, Dave.
Got you now. Coach, nice to talk to you again. Can you talk a little bit about the logistics that you had to go through with the team and everything since you've been down there?
Yeah, Matt kind of hit on it as well, that they've done a great job setting it up, and to get here and see all the work that's been put in, I think really gets these guys excited about it. I think it's been I think not difficult for our players, but they've had to kind of go through a lot to get to this point. But I think they see the light at the end of the tunnel of games coming up, getting back to a normal season, getting to play again, and you can just kind of feel their energy of really ready to play. And so I think they had to spend some time in Philadelphia area before they got down here. We get off the plane and it's 70 degrees and we're gonna go play basketball while you guys got a snowstorm back there. So things are really exciting for our guys, and I think they're excited to start playing.
Over to Noah Lewitt. Go ahead, Noah.
Hey, Connor. My question is kind of big picture. How you coach pace? You guys were third in the league in pace last year, and that's been a point of emphasis on the Sixers with Doc Rivers wanting guys to fill the lanes properly and play fast, but also play intelligently. So I guess first off, is that again something you guys want to do, play fast this year? And secondly, how do you go about teaching that in this environment where you don't have much time with your players and a lot of new pieces and all of that?
Yeah, I think pace will continue to be a priority, and coming from the way Coach Rivers wants us to play, that's something that we'll try to continue on. I think. I also think it's kind of a lot of teams these days want to play with pace because you get an advantage. You get to play in situations where you're playing 4-on-3, you're playing 5-on-4. It's just inherently easier to score. And you look at the playoff games in the NBA, the teams that can push it and get 6 or 8 free points because they're playing 2-on-1 really helps. So that'll continue to be a priority. I thought we did a pretty good job last year. We really hope to build on it this year. I'd say the real kind of new emphasis for us is really playing in the corners and getting our guys to the corners as fast as possible, which kind of ties in between the pace portion, but also space. That we want our guys to play fast because playing fast allows them to play in more space because there might be one less defender. We get our guys to the corner, they have to guard more of the court. And the Sixers, we've been watching a ton of them and they've done a great job with it. And that's something that we're already hitting our guys about, that we want to play with great pace all the time, but then let that pace help us play in more space.
Next up, Jason Blevins. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Connor, good to see you. I've got a question about defense. So you guys were built for the drop, pick, and roll coverage last year with your big men. You don't have that this year. Are you going to try things like amoeba defense or different types, or do you not have enough training camp time and practice time to really do complex stuff? What should we be looking for defensively?
I think we will look a little bit different than last year, mostly because of the differences in the Sixers approach. And again, as you guys know, so much of what we're doing is similar to what they've done. I think, have a unique style last year. I think the roster having 2 big fives really lended itself to playing that way. This year, I think it'll be more about everyone having a role and rim protection, everyone being involved in helping, really pulling over from the weak side, guys in difficult positions where they have to put on the sideline. That's something we've seen from the Sixers. We've had lots of good discussions just about how they implemented and watching their training camp, and that's the same for this stuff. We think it'll look different. Look different from last year. I don't know if it's non-traditionalized, maybe but it'll continue to be a priority for most of the stuff. And next for them, it's
Yeah, so one quick follow-up. Someone like Paul Reed, are you pointing to like a Jeremy Grant as like, here's a guy who made his bones as a weak side shot blocker in help, right? Is he a guy that you'd point to as like, here's defensively what we might be able to, a path for you maybe? Or do you see him as a different type of player?
I think that the real key for those sort of positions and guys like him who have a great athletic profile, who play with a really high motor, is versatility. That what NBA teams are looking for now are guys that can protect the rim and still get out and stay in front of the guard and sit down and move. And so between Paul's quickness, Paul's speed, Paul's length, and his athleticism, those are the hallmark traits that should transfer to diversity that NBA teams are looking for. Sometimes they set a good screen and pass, but sometimes he's the big in front of it. So we're really working up ball down here. He'll play at the rim. He's shown already involved. If he's down and staying from the guard, he's not in the middle. Have to do that.
Awesome. Thanks. Good to see you. Best of luck.
I'll go over to Nick Earnshaw. Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, Coach. Hope all is well. Just regarding kind of bouncing off the last question. Regarding the offense, last season you said, the Sixers, that you guys run a similar offense to what they do. So have you had a chance to talk with Doc Rivers about the player development and the kind of team that you guys want to run in Delaware and down in the bubble?
Yeah, we've had really good communication with Coach Rivers, with the rest of the staff, in making sure that not only are we try to be as similar as we can, but reinforcing the values that they see, to help the team, but to help the guys develop. And the development staff has spent a lot of time with Paul already. So as we continue to work with him, we're not introducing anything new. We're merely just a continuation of what they've done. Dwayne Jones has worked with Paul a lot in this path and kind of the lead up to where we are now. And so all those things that he's hit them on, that he's reinforcing, the goals that they have set are things that we're continuing. So Coach Rivers has been great and generous with his time, and I think we're fortunate that he's invested in this just like the rest of the Sixers staff is this year.
Two more for Coach. First up, David Melanger. Go ahead, David.
Hey, Coach, two questions for you. One, have you had a chance to talk to any of the other coaches around the league about their thoughts about playing this season in the bubble? And what did you take away from watching how the NBA did in the bubble last year?
Yeah, I've gotten to talk to a lot of the other G League coaches about playing in the bubble. In fact, as this all gets going, the G League coaches kind of banding together in some sense, and we're having weekly Zoom calls to talk about the logistics, to talk about different ways to make sure that when we got here, it was the best environment it could be for the players. So that's been a good opportunity to, one, to get to know those guys, but also make sure that bouncing off ideas to make this a world-class experience for the players. I think the NBA bubble was talking to our Sixer guys. We got a lot of good info from what they did, how they managed to keep their guys engaged, what it was like for them being there, and all that sort of stuff. We're putting into place right now so that these guys can stay healthy, these guys can play really well, and help themselves get ready for the next step.
Last one to Jacob Schwartz. Boyce, go ahead.
Hello, Connor. Pleasure to see you. Hope all is well.
Good to see you, Boyce.
Hey, so, I've noticed a lot of the people have been asking questions kind of about the situation that's going on down there and just like the team outlook. But I think a lot of people are forgetting you're still with this team because with Coach Brown no longer being a part of the program, they were able to, Doc was nice enough to kind of keep you on. What does that mean to you to be able to work for a guy, first of all, to be able to work for a guy like Doc, who has a resume among resumes? How blessed do you feel you are that you're going to be staying on with this program?
I couldn't be more excited. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. Number one, to get to work under Coach Rivers and get to witness firsthand how he's handling the Sixers, I think is a great experience. I think that the second part of that is the challenge that I'm really embracing of putting that in with our own team. I think it's one thing to watch and sit there and watch their training camp and see everything they're doing. I think it's another thing to take that and then put it on our team. And so I've enjoyed that challenge. I've enjoyed getting to kind of see basketball through a little bit of a different lens. And I'm hoping that they're doing a heck of a job with the Sixers right now. So if we can carry any of that stuff over to us, we'll be pretty excited.
And one last question. I'm going to make it really brief because I know we got other people to talk to. Jameer Nelson is now with the program. He's a scout on the Sixers. He's going to be an assistant GM with Matt. I didn't get a chance to ask this. Are you excited for him to be a part of this family?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're all fired up to get a Philly legend, Jameer. He's been great. He was great on the draft. I think Matt hit it on the head that he offers a unique perspective as a player that has had that much success in the NBA. And I think he also provides a unique perspective to our players who are going, what our players on our team want right now is to have the career Jameer had. And so to be able to pair those guys up and have him as part of our program is something that I think we're thrilled about. I think the position he has where he spends time with the Sixers and helps them out there as well as working under Matt is terrific. And Jameer's been also just a great guy to have around, and so far so good, but we're pretty lucky.
One more for Mark Narducci, Coach. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, Connor, would you be able to talk to us about like the procedures there, like how much you guys have to get tested and things like that?
Sure. Since we've got here, we've gotten tested every day. Before the team arrived, we were in the Philadelphia area getting tested for something like 7 days. So there was a pre-single site quarantine. There's the single site testing that we have now. And it's kind of just become part of the routine. We practice in the morning. We have a meeting. When we practice in the morning, we go have lunch. The guys get tested, and that's kind of how the day goes. And so that part's been smooth. That part's been easy. Really, I think our focus and our players' focus has been on basketball because it hasn't been a huge distraction to everything else. And I think the guys are enjoying being here. It's some excitement with all the other teams getting ready to play and ready to compete, and a lot of talent in the G League this year especially. So if you put it all together, I think it's really on the right track.
And one last thing. So the testing will go on every day. It'll just continue that way.
Yeah, we test every day.
Okay.
And
Thank
then
you.
everyone's wearing a mask. They've enforced that. They're doing a great job. We play in a gym, and there's an hour break where they go through and they sanitize and do what they do for us to come in next. And everything seems to be a real first-rate experience.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time. Thanks, all. We'll reset here. Stand by for players incoming. Thank you.
Hey, folks, just for those of you who are hanging on, just bear with us.
Justin Robinson will be next. Stand by for Justin Robinson.
You hear that? So we're gonna have players available, starting with Justin Robinson, point guard. He was first acquired midseason last year. Played a couple of games after being acquired from the Wizards organization.
All right, Alex, good to go.
All right, taking questions for Justin. Please raise your hand. We'll call on you and moderate to unmute yourself. First up, we'll go to Jason Blevins. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Justin, good to see you. So you guys have not had a ton of training camp time. You've not had a lot of practice time. What sort of homework were you given by coach around what kind of defensive concepts you wanted to run? And what can you share about, the sort of defensive concepts? And we heard a little bit about sprinting to the corners. You're going to be more of a point of attack guy up top, I'm sure, but just share what you can.
Yeah, I would just say overall, I've been watching some Sixers game before everybody got together as well. So I think they have kept the same concepts overall from the Sixers and what they're doing on the defensive end as well. So I think more last year we had Chris and Demo back there who were two big trees. It's a little bit slimmed down. So I think more of ice and ball screening rather than sending everything over the top. But I think overall the feel that we've had ball and two that we've had has been defensively more used to us, but I'm used to.
Awesome. Thank you.
Over to Joe Stauffenberg. Go ahead, Joe.
Hi, Justin. We saw last year, what the NBA players went through in the bubble down there, and I'm just wondering, how have you adjusted to the life down there?
It's been different. Obviously, we had to quarantine in Philly and when we got here, so I think the idea of having an everyday schedule of working out
2-3 times a day, and then going away to nothing for 11 days was different for me. But I think the overall idea of now everyone being so excited to be out of their rooms, every team, just how the good energy and vibes is around has been good for everyone.
I get that.
Lloyd Wilson, go ahead, Lloyd.
How you doing, Justin?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So my question was, actually it's a two-part question. When you were on your days off, one, do you play 2K?
So to be honest, I didn't a lot because when I was with the Wizards, they had me in the game, but my guy didn't play like how I played. Like he was dunking, going down the lane off one leg, and I don't really do that much. So I kind of stay away from. I'm more of a Call of Duty Warzone type of guy.
What system?
Xbox. Xbox is the best. PlayStation players aren't good. Xbox players are where it's at. So if you want to get some real run, go play on Xbox.
Only reason I mentioned because I had played with you in 2K. That's why I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, my dude was knocking out some threes and making some good passes, but my pass level was down. You know what I mean? But it's like that's what I do. So it's all good. I wasn't really crazy about it.
You a corner specialist. I got you up there.
My God.
Okay, Harrison Brown Russo. Go ahead, Harrison. Excuse me.
Justin, how's it going? Just wondering if you saw that Virginia Tech win the other day over UVA. It was a pretty big win.
You know, it's crazy you say that. We got Braxton, who's a UVA guy, so he gave me some push-ups the next day. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing new. When I was there, we beat them every year, besides my senior year when I didn't play the second game. But we split every year, so I mean, I wasn't expecting to be that big of a blowout, but
right,
it was a blowout for sure.
What do you think of that team this year, Virginia Tech?
They run a lot of good sets. Coach Young is a great guy and a great coach. They have shooters all around. I think their team's really molding together. And a surprise guy is Aluma that's there. That came from Wofford. I'm really impressed with his game. And obviously I have my guy Beatty and Boots still there. So I'm just glad they're doing well.
Thank you.
For sure.
A couple more. Let's hit Aaron Hook. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, Justin. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. For you individually, as a guy who broke in last year, averaged 14 points a game for the Blue Coats, what are your goals for yourself basketball-wise this year and this season individually?
Personally, obviously, the main goal is to get back in the NBA where I was and just I wouldn't say prove my worth again, but kind of wake people up as well and being in this situation in the spotlight and showcase pretty much. I think it's a great opportunity for me to show everything I worked on during quarantine, and the main goal is to kind of get my assist to turnover ratio back down.
Over to Kayla Santiago. Go ahead, Kayla.
Hey, Justin. Coach and Matt both talked about you guys being more versatile this year, kind of matching to what the Sixers are doing. What have you worked on in practice specifically to kind of run the floor a little bit better?
Yeah, we're a very diverse group, and we're very talented from what I've seen so far. And I think just the idea of having a lot of guys who can get up and down quick and sprint to the corners, as we have said so far, has been our main goal. But, I mean, the idea of that things can come from all over the court and we don't have any selfish guys and everyone wants to see everybody else eat is a good thing for us. I think just the whole overall concept what we have of defend, run, and share is what we're doing so far. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. All right, Justin, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, folks, standing by for Rayjon Tucker. Tucker will be stepping up shortly. Okay, we'll take questions by hand. First up, we'll go to Jason Joseph. Go ahead, Jason.
Hi there, Rayjon. This is a two-part question. First of all, I wanted to know how excited you are to be with the Blue Coats. And the other part of my question is, you played in the bubble last season with Utah, and I just wanted to know what you learned and how you're going to be implementing that into your game this season.
So for the first part, I'm very excited to be here with the Blue Coats. Another opportunity to showcase my skills and hopefully get a championship here with these guys. For the second part of your question, being here already, I just kind of tell the guys, just kind of find things that you can do by yourself, whether it's read a book, play the video game, just kind of get your mind off basketball and not really being able to see people. Just off the strength, I've been here and I know how it goes. Just first time around, it's really unusual. So
next up, Jason Blevins. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Rayjon. Good to see you. Give me your North Star as far as NBA comps. Who would you like to see as your career plays out, you develop into player X? Who is that?
I would say a player like Victor Oladipo, player like that that's kind of came out of nowhere, proved himself time and time again to make him the player that he was when everybody doubted him. So.
And on this team, we've heard a lot already today about replicating as much as they're doing, as much as possible of what they're doing in Philadelphia. So who's your comp on the current 76ers roster as far as your role offensively and defensively?
As far as offense, somebody that I can resemble myself that's on the team already?
Yeah, like role-wise. Like
role-wise?
Yep.
That's a hard question. I don't know. That's a good one.
Well, I'll ask you next time.
For sure. We get. I'll put answer for you next time.
There you go. Best of luck.
Appreciate you.
Ryan Crichton. Go ahead, Ryan.
How you doing, Rayjon?
What's up? What's good?
My question is, what is it like not having to travel for games and having everything that's outside of basketball for you right there with you?
It's a plus. Your body gets rest. You don't have to worry about, being jet lagged or having long nights on a plane where you can't sleep. You go to sleep on the plane and you get home and you up till 2-3 in the morning. You got practice the next day. So that definitely helps just with the body and the mental aspect of everything. And then just having the gym right here, it's kind of like college where you just walk to the gym right from the dorm room and get everything you need there and then go back to doing whatever you're doing. So.
Harrison Brown-Russo. Go ahead, Harrison.
Hey, Rayjon. How's it going? I was just wondering if it's helped you at all, having guys that you played with before, Frank Mason, Jamario Jones. Has that helped you at all in this bubble situation?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely with those guys being on my team, it gives you a little bit more comfortability with everything that's going on. But with this being my second time going, I think I would have been kind of comfortable with it either way it went.
It's time for two more. Gary Erdelay. Go ahead, Gary.
Hey, Rayjon. Hope you're enjoying the Florida weather. It's not fun up here. I was just going back to the point about you have a bubble experience, and a lot of near the end, a lot of players were feeling lagged and mentally not great. How important is it to have a strong mental psyche during this time?
Oh, it's definitely big. Just off the strength, your mental could go anything. You could one day be thinking about you being with your friends, or the next day, say you got kids and you miss their birthday or something like that. They could just easily distract you from, the goal that we're trying to do here is, progress, get the championship here, be the best team that we can, and be the best players that we can individually, so we get to where we want to. So being mentally strong and mentally prepared is definitely one of the biggest goals that you have to have in the bubble.
Thanks, Rayjon.
Last one will go to Kayla Santiago. Go ahead, Kayla.
Hey, Rayjon. So you're kind of a new addition to this Blue Coats team. How have you adjusted to that so far, and what are you looking to provide throughout this season?
Adjusting is really easy for me. I feel like I'm really coachable. I kind of learn fast on the fly. I feel like I bring a lot of energy, a lot of showtime, leadership, great communication. Just being in a position where last year was on the Wisconsin Herald, where we were basically had the best team in the league. Bring that experience, already been in the league, to these young guys that we have. So just all around aspects is just making the guys around me better.
Okay, thanks, Rayjon.
For sure. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks all. That's a wrap for this availability. We'll be in touch for next time.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it. Gonna shut it down. Thanks to everyone who hung out. So we had 2 players, Justin Robinson, Rayjon Tucker. We will continue to bring these. We had Matt Lilly, general manager of the Blue Coats, talked about the need for versatility, talked about the fact that they don't have 7-footers on this team, which is a huge change. But then we talked to Connor Johnson, who said they continue to want to replicate as much as possible of what they're doing in Philadelphia. So how does that work? So I asked Connor about different defensive schemes. Looks like they're going to try to do a lot of rim protection by committee, and that means a lot of weak side stuff, a lot of recovery stuff. Probably going to switch 1 through 5, really 1 through 4, but there may not really be a 5. I think what I'm reading is they are expecting a lot of 5-out offense in the G League. Not a lot of big men that can really hurt them offensively. I think that's fair. On the offensive side, they want to sprint to the corners. They want to do as much of what the Sixers do as possible. And that comes down to, again, a Paul Reed setting really good screens to create open looks for guys flashing out, coming off ball screens to get open looks from 3 in transition, sprint to the corners instead of to the rim to get those transition 3s, to force the defense to spread out along the baseline to cover those 3s, which will give your primary ball carriers avenues in transition to get right to the rim. This team is very different. This roster is very different than the Sixers roster. So some of that is a surprise. I would have banked, and I asked Connor, I didn't expect him to answer it directly, but I asked if they would play with some more amoeba defense concepts versus drop, pick, and roll coverage, which they do in Philadelphia. The answer he gave was as much detail as really a coach is going to give. They're not going to tell you what defense they run, really. But you have a team with that doesn't have a lot of size. I think they're expecting teams to run 5-out offense, and you're going to see high-scoring games. I just predict a ton of high-scoring games here. And on the offensive side, Sixers, the Blue Coats have 2 really small point guards in Frank Mason and Justin Robinson. That is a difference from what the Sixers run. So, they're going to try to replicate a lot, but at the end of the day, I think you're going to see a very different product from the Blue Coats. Faster pace, ton of 3s, high volume 3s. I wouldn't be surprised to see this look much more like what you saw in Houston under Daryl Morey. So that's day 1 for Blue Coats in the bubble. I will be down covering a game in the bubble during the Florida trip when the Sixers play the Raptors in Tampa. I will take a trip into the bubble in Orlando, at least for one day, to cover the Blue Coats as well. So signing off for now, but I'm sure we've got we've got content for you for the rest of the evening. So appreciate everyone who hung out with us. And as someone asked, this is not new for us. We have covered what we call the blue route. We have covered the blue coats and the talent pipeline since our inception. It's been a core principle of what we do. We want to be able to bring you glimpses of the guys that might have a chance to really make an impact at the next level. So we're the ones who are the first one to tell everyone, Shake Milton is coming. Get ready for it. He's a player. I'm confident in that. We're the first ones in any real detail, besides an aspirational tweet, to tell you why you could expect him to translate to the NBA. We were very early in the Norvell Pell. Not to toot our own horn. What I'm really trying to convey is we put this kind of work in. We're just going to show you the work. We put this work in at the G League level. Go back through our channel. You'll see 3 years of interviews with guys like Shake Milton, with guys like Connor Johnson, with Matt Lilly, with many of the current players, past players, guys that are in the NBA now. Zaire Smith will be in there. And this is the work that we do to try to make sure that when we talk about the Sixers, we're giving you a full picture of the entire organization. So again, I'll stop talking. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.